Something is wrong here. You are standing in front of a structural masterpiece, but your DNA is telling you it's a crime scene. Let's get personal for a second. Have you ever walked past one of those high-tech buildings? You feel tired not because of your work, but because your brain has been trying to stage a quiet escape all day. So if you ever felt a random spike of anxiety, it's not just about you. It's your ancient brain telling you that you are standing in a beautiful high-tech trap with nowhere to hide. Take a look at your surroundings. We spend over 90% of our lives inside the built environments. Yet, most of us feel a strange, cold emptiness when we walk through a modern, high-tech city center. Around the mid-20th century, a fundamental shift occurred where architecture largely abandoned humanist principles in favor of utilitarian rules, prioritizing cost, speed, and efficiency over the actual psychological experience of the occupants. In this video, we are going to break down the science of how your brain maps architectural spaces. We are going to look at the aesthetic triad, the intersection of your senses, your emotions, and your knowledge. We will identify the hidden dimensions that make or break a room, which means coherence, fascination, and hominess. Finally, we will see why our fractal hunger is being starved by flat, modernist walls and how this impacts your psychological stress and cognitive focus every single day. You don't want to miss this video because the world we are building is increasingly out of sync with who we are as species. Think of the sterile, glass and steel canyons of modern financial districts or the intimidating scale of Brutalist monoliths that prioritize efficiency over human feeling. We see this in high-tech masterpieces like the Centre Pompidou in Paris, where the exposed skeletal plumbing can trigger evolutionary disgust, or the Lloyd's building in London, which looks more like a cold machine than a place for people. Whether it's dizzying skyscrapers that offer prospect but no refuge, or structures that prioritize structural fascination over personal comfort. These designs are actively triggering your brain's stress responses. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see how the world around you is shaping your mind. Drop a comment with the one modern building that makes you feel uncomfortable and hit like button. Because I'm gonna give you too many terms about neuroscience and architecture. Now let's get into the biological ick. Why does seeing the guts of a high-tech building, all those exposed pipes and steel beams, make your brain think you are in danger? Let's get personal for a second. Have you ever walked past one of those high-tech buildings? The kind where all the metal pipes, giant beams and electrical wires are just hanging out on the outside? Most architects call that honest design, but for you, it probably feels like a cold industrial mess. The reason for that discomfort isn't about your taste in art. It's because your brain is looking at that building through the lens of a million years of survival instincts. You see, in the natural world, seeing insides on the outside, like bones, veins, or organs, is a massive red flag. It usually means something is badly hurt, diseased, or dying. Exactly, this triggers ancient survival reflex that we call evolutionary disgust. Think of this term as your body's built-in stay-away radar. Thousands of years ago, if our ancestors saw something with its internal system exposed, it meant a predator was nearby or a disease was spreading. Your brain learned to associate that visual chaos with danger. So, when a building like the Centre Pompidou or the Lloyd's building puts its skeletal plumbing on the exterior, your primitive brain doesn't see cool engineering. It sees a body with its guts hanging out and it screams, "Something is wrong here. You are standing in front of a structural masterpiece, but your DNA is telling you it's a crime scene." And it is not just the guts. To feel truly at peace, humans have a deep, prehistoric craving for a concept called prospect and refuge. This is what we call the secret source of feeling safe. Prospect is your need to survey the land, like a captain on a ship looking for icebergs, so you can spot a threat before it hits you. Refuge is the solid wall behind your back, the sturdy cave that keeps the wolves out. To your brain, the ultimate comfort zone is a place where you can see everything without being seen yourself. The problem with modern high-tech buildings, especially for the floor-to-ceiling glass towers, is that they give you 100% prospect but no refuge. When you are standing in a glass box, you feel subconsciously naked. You can see the whole city, but you have nowhere to hide your own back. Instead of feeling open and free, your brain feels like a sitting duck. It's all eyes and no shield. So if you ever felt a random spike of anxiety, it's not just about you. It's your ancient brain telling you that you are standing in a beautiful, high-tech trap with nowhere to hide. But if the outside of the building is just a threat to our survival, what happens when we actually step inside? How does our brain physically react when it realizes it can't escape these ugly spaces? Think about the last time you walked into a high-tech office lobby or massive sterile airport terminal. For example, everything is glass, steel, and perfectly white. It's objectively clean, yet somehow you feel a strange urge to just leave. You aren't just being moody. Your brain is actually reacting to that space before you even have a conscious thought about it. When you are stuck in a place that feels cold or off, a specific area called the motor cortex starts firing up. Usually this part of the brain is busy planning your physical moments like walking or reaching for a coffee. But neuroscientists have found that when we are faced with architecture that feels ugly or aggressive, the motor cortex prepares the body to move. Basically, your brain is sending a silent command to your legs saying, "Get out." It's a low-level fight or flight response that stays turned on as long as you are in that building. You feel tired not because of your work, but because your brain has been trying to stage a quiet escape all day. At the same time, you are missing out on biological high. When we see a space that feels right, maybe it has warm wood, soft curves, or natural light, a region called the medial orbifrontal cortex, or the MOFC, lights up. Think of the MOFC as your brain's reward center. It's the same part of you that reacts when you taste amazing food or hear your favorite song. It releases a hit of dopamine that tells your body, you are safe, you are home, you can relax now. Modern high-tech minimalism often leaves this reward center completely silent. There's no dopamine here, just a flat sensory vacuum that leaves you feeling drained. But it gets even more personal. You don't just see these buildings. Your brain mentally touches them through a process called embodied simulation. This happens because of mirror neurons. These are the cells that make you flinch when you see someone else get hurt. Think about when you see someone yawn. Suddenly you feel like yawning too, right? Your brain is a master at simulating the world around you. So when you look at sharp, jagged steel or cold reflective glass, your mirror neurons simulate that physical sensation in your own body. You feel the sharpness and the coldness as if it's touching your skin. This is exactly why high-tech buildings often feel aggressive rather than inviting. Your brain is touching the architecture and it finds the edge too sharp to handle. So, if you have ever wondered why you feel so exhausted after a few hours in a modern district, it's because your brain has been busy trying to run away while your body felt like it was being poked by sharp glass. But if we are biologically wired to hate these spaces, how do we fix it? What are the secret ingredients every building needs to make us actually want to stay? So if we know what scares us, how do we actually measure what makes a space right? Researchers have found that your brain uses a secret 3-part checklist to judge every room you walked into. They call these 3 pillars of interior experience: fascination, coherence, and hominess. First, there is fascination. This is the wow factor. It's the visual richness that makes you want to look around and explore. High-tech buildings are masters of this. They use a part of your brain called the right lingual gyrus to grab your attention with shiny pipes and complex shapes. But here is the problem. A building can't survive on wow alone. It's like a movie that's all explosions but has no plot. After a while, it just becomes a noise. Take a building like the Lloyd's of London as the perfect example. When you first see it, it's undeniably impressive. A gleaming, futuristic machine dropped right into the middle of a historic city. Your eyes dart around, following the polished pipes and those external glass elevators. But imagine having to spend 8 hours in a day in that storm. That wow factor eventually turns into a why. Because your brain is constantly scanning for a place to rest, but all it finds is more shiny, complicated metal. It is the architectural version of flashy social media feed. It grabs your attention for a few seconds, but it leaves you feeling overstimulated and empty by the time you are done. The next one is coherence. This is your brain's ability to read the room. There's a specific spot in your brain called the left inferior occipital gyrus that acts like a translator. Its job is to organize all the shapes you see into something that makes sense. In a traditional building, you know where the door is, where the floor ends, and what the walls are doing. But in high-tech mess of wires and beams, your brain has to work overtime just to solve the puzzle. It's like trying to read a book where all the words are scrambled. It's not edgy, it is just mentally exhausting. Take the Centre Pompidou in Paris. When you stand in front of it, your brain's translator goes into overdrive. Instead of a clear entrance or solid wall, you are hit with massive tangle of blue air ducts, green water pipes, and yellow electrical lines. Because the guts of the building are where the face should be, your brain can't quickly categorize what it's looking at. This creates a massive cognitive load. Your mind is so busy trying to sort out the visual chaos that it has no energy left to actually enjoy the space. It's not just the bold design, it's a constant mental workout that leaves you feeling drained before you even step inside. And finally, there's hominess. This is the feeling of safety, comfort, and belonging. It's linked to an area called the left cuneus, which helps you decide, is this a place for me? This is where modern masterpieces almost always fail. They look like giant machines and your brain knows it. You don't feel like an occupant, you feel like a spare part. The reason we feel so drained in these masterpieces is that they prioritize fascination while completely ignoring coherence and hominess. They are visual puzzles that your brain never stops trying to solve, and eventually that leads to total cognitive fatigue. You are not just tired. Your brain is literally worn out from trying to make sense of a space that was not built for humans. But if these cluttered high-tech designs exhaust us, why does the opposite feel even worse? Why do those flat, plain, minimalist walls feel like a different kind of torture for our brains? So now, if those chaotic pipes from the previous minutes in this video make us want to run away, you would think a clean, flat, plain, minimalist walls would be a perfect cure, right? But here is the twist. For your brain, a blank wall can be just as stressful as the chaotic one. It's called the fractal hunger. For millions of years, our ancestors lived in a world built on fractals. If that sounds like a technical math term, don't worry. It's actually nature's favorite pattern. A fractal is a shape that repeats itself at different scales, meaning the small parts look like a miniature versions of the big parts. Think of a tree. The main trunk splits into branches, which split into smaller twigs, and those twigs split into even smaller stems. It's the same Y shape repeating over and over at every size. You see this geometry everywhere, in the jagged edges of a mountain range, the curves of a cloud, or the veins on a leaf. Because we evolved in these environments, our eyes developed a superpower called fluent processing. This means your brain can scan a complex forest or a detailed cathedral and process all that information effortlessly. It already knows the code for these patterns. It's like visual comfort food. Looking at these shapes actually recharges your mental battery. But modern architecture did something radical. It stripped all those patterns away and replaced them with flat surfaces and bare concrete. When your eyes hit a massive empty wall, they search for a detail to lock onto, but they find absolutely nothing. Think of a building like Boston City Hall or the sheer, featureless glass faces of many modern financial towers.
It was once named one of the world's ugliest buildings, but there is no getting rid of it now. Boston City Hall is now considered a historic landmark.
You are staring at these enormous flat planes, and your eyes desperately try to find a ledge, a window frame, or even a bit of texture to rest on. But they just slip off the surface. There's no information to process. This is why these spaces feel so unfriendly or dead. It's not just because they are gray. It's because to your brain they are a visual vacuum. This creates a state of sensory deprivation. It's like a being in a room with total silence. After a while, that emptiness starts to feel heavy and uncomfortable. Research shows that being in this boring environment actually spikes your cortisol. the stress hormone. Your brain is not relaxing, it is starving for information. This is why traditional buildings with their repeating windows and stone carvings feel so much warmer. They are feeding your brain the organized complexity it craves. Modernism tried to simplify our lives, but it accidentally put our visual systems on starvation diet. So if our brains are biologically wired to reject these modernist boxes, what should our cities actually look like? How do we take all these signs and finally start building for the human spirit? For nearly 100 years, we have been building our world based on a massive misunderstanding. Somewhere in the 20th century, architecture shifted toward a machine-first mindset. We started prioritizing speed, low cost, and industrial efficiency above everything else. But here is the reality we ignored. The human being is not a machine. We are biological organisms with ancient nervous systems that need more than just a roof and four walls to thrive. When we build the cities that ignore our fractal hunger for refuge and for visual order, we are not just making ugly buildings. We are creating environments that keep us in a constant state of biological stress. This is not about making things pretty in a vague way. It's about using experimental science to design specifically for the human nervous system. It means building spaces that feed our fractal hunger, creating interiors that give us that much needed sense of hominess, and ensuring our brains can actually read the buildings we live in. We might just be reaching a point where we realize that building success could be measured by how it affects the person inside it, rather than just the cost to build. As the researchers put it, the best artists throughout the history have really just been unconsciously neuroscientists. They have always known intuitively what the data is now proving, that our surroundings are a direct input into our mental health, our stress levels, and our ability to focus. We have the tools now to build cities that don't just house us, but actually help us heal. Because at the end of the day, the old saying is more literal than we ever realized. We shape our buildings, and thereafter, our buildings shape us.